You get into business and you're obsessed with that end in mind and you try to force it to happen.
Yeah.
That's where the bad decisions happen.
What got you into mentorship and the game? Because you don't necessarily game, but you're so loyal to the people that you're with. I mean, you have people that you went to high school with, people that don't come for money, and you just kind of stick out your hand and reach out and just help them elevate. What is it about your life? It's always impressive to me when successful people continue to do it even after you found the success you have.
I think the difference is to know that we're all the same. We all have the exact same emotions, maybe different thinking, but we all go through very similar pain. That's why I love your name, PainPoints. And the challenge to overcome those challenges is where you need people the most. And when people don't do that, what value are you driving? If we've gone through those problems, we might as well lift people up on how to resolve some of those issues. When you look back at your life, things that used to stress you out probably don't stress you out at all anymore. And now new things stress you out.
Yeah.
The reason for the loyalty or just always helping is I don't expect any reciprocation from anybody. Okay. When we invest $1 into a new business idea or another entrepreneur, and yeah, we've made some really bad decisions and we've gone through fraud and things like that too, but like we don't ever expect it back. And so to emotionally remove ourselves allows us to make the best decisions in the worst times.
Are you stuck in that $3 to $10 million year-over-year revenue? Roofs in a Box is your all-in-one growth partner for modern construction companies. They combine AI, virtual staffing, and CRM solutions to help streamline operations. Replace your high fixed overhead with cost-effective systems and support. They empower you to run a smarter, leaner business, freeing up capital where it matters most. Mention this ad to save 10% on your next Roofs in a Box purchase. This episode of Pain Points is brought to you by Ringba. If your business relies on phone calls, you need to be working with them. Their technology will help you get the most money out of your marketing campaigns. Their call exchange, Ringba X, can deliver inbounds on demand to help grow your customer base. Now, I want to be transparent. Ringba and Adam did pay me to deliver that message, but I'm also a customer, and I've watched them help dozens of companies become more successful over the years. So if you sell a product or service over the phone, I guarantee a moment with their team will be worth it.
All right, man, welcome to another episode of Pain Points, where real pain equals real growth. I'm here with Mitesh Solanki, and I'm actually, it's an honor and a privilege, man, because this guy is always busy, hard to pin down. We have a lot of history together. I'm happy you make the time for me as always. But
We've gone back 10 years?
Yeah, at least
15?
Yeah. He's one of the guys that actually got me started in the space, and is one of the few people who I consider a mentor to me. I always say shoulder to shoulder. It's hard to find people that has been there, done that. And I just love the fact that you take the time to teach, to educate, to tell me what to do at this phase of development. Because as you know, as you grow, you kind of run out of peers and mentors. And so I want to thank you, because you've actually been one of those guys who have been that for me.
I think it's mutual. We've, you don't know a challenge until you face the challenge.
Right.
You go through the next set of growth, and the only way to find out is to talk to people who've been there,
right,
or have figured out how to get through it.
Right.
And I think we've faced some of the same challenges as we've gone through these industries, and
Right.
and especially coming from our world.
Yeah.
You know, our world is, lead gen is ever moving. It's up, down.
Yes, sir.
The emotions are high. Emotions are great. They're
Constantly evolving.
yeah, constantly
changing.
evolving.
Yeah, and you've actually one of the few people that have recreated yourself multiple times, right? You got lead gen has been a great starter to get you into these other kind of diversified portfolio, right? But you started in lead gen for the most part, right? As far as the growth and expansion.
We actually started as an ad agency.
Okay.
We were building other people's brands.
Right.
We were in front of all these different conferences going to, and this is like 2006, 7.
Right.
We're telling people and executives about social media marketing.
Right.
Before Facebook had, pages for brands. They were
Right.
just groups. And the adoption was absolutely terrible. But if you get out there in front of an audience long enough,
Yeah.
some people will listen and they'll give a chance. So we started off in the apparel and cosmetics beauty industry. And we got in front of the right people at the right time. We built some amazing brands for other brand owners.
Right.
And we said, well, we're creating so much long-term value, and they're exiting their businesses. They're selling for hundreds of millions of dollars. We're part of that engine
Right.
of marketing. And marketing and sales is the fuel to any business.
I agree.
And that's when we got into building our own ubiquitous brands online.
Beautiful.
And driving traffic to those, and then figuring out that if you connect, into these bid economy systems, you can make a lot more money.
Right.
So it was just by coincidence.
Yeah. So there's two things I want to say, and I love your transparency too, because a lot of people think everything you touch turns to gold, and we know opposite with R&D initiatives, right?
Oh yeah.
There's two questions. First question is, and wherever it goes. But what percentage of companies do you think you start that actually take off the way you want to?
Oh, that's a good one. I would say 10%,
10%?
20%.
I was thinking 20 myself.
Yeah, 10 to 20.
Yeah.
But realistically, even on the 20 percentile, they're not all doing the best.
Yes.
But they're not the ones we're killing either.
Yes.
But the 10% are just fire.
Yes. I call them ATM machines.
Yes.
The ones that pay now and pay later.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Annuities.
Yes. But those are rarities, right? That's not like, and it's a lot of times people try to get that TikTok money or that influencer money, and realizing that it's not always it's a grand slams, right? You got to put your head out, you got to put your neck out there, you got to take the risk, you got to calculate it, you got to have the back end processes, systems, and then even with all that, sometimes it won't take off, right?
Well, the process systems, and then what's the third thing?
Oh yeah, okay. So
the third thing.
Yeah, so this is something which is that kind of interesting, because I always say that businesses fail for two reasons, and you say the third reason. I always say process or people, and you say the third reason is.
Well, the process and people come after the first reason.
Yep.
Which is the way you make a decision, your decision matrix.
Right.
And if you're a really good entrepreneur and you have a great, excellent steward of your mind, you can always sit back and you can think about every single scenario that could go right and wrong before you do something.
Right. But do you think, because I feel like there's a lot of visionaries that see the end game, but the skill set that you just brought up to me, I view it more, I call it an architect, right? And there's only a handful of visionaries that not only can see that there's something there, but can almost like understand to navigate the landscape to get there. Because most CEOs are the best salespeople, but not necessarily understanding the operation or the processes and how to get there.
If you've gone into like enough billionaire boardrooms,
Right.
The billionaire never's thrown out any ideas.
Right.
He's firing questions.
Right.
He's never answering questions.
Right.
Majority of the time.
Right.
Unless you're past that whole, diligence phase, and now they've decided they want to do business with you.
Right.
Now they're giving you vision.
Right.
But before they're giving you any vision or any infrastructure, they're asking an exorbitant amount of questions.
Right.
Because they're figuring out their decision matrix
Right.
to see if whatever opportunity they have with you is going to align with whatever opportunity they're trying to create.
It's interesting. Yeah, I'm trying to think about like when I mentor, I'm on a very different scale, but when I mentor young business owners, that's the first thing I do is ask a crap ton of questions. Like, what do you have? What's here? And I have to do this discovery thing more or less to see where they're at, to see if there's something I want to even play with. But it sounds like what you're talking about is even much higher, because they're probably asking, is it the same kind of basic questions, like understanding the process, understanding the system, the product, and just kind of going to this exploratory call? Or is it more high level questions to see how they answer those?
I'll tell you, the one thing, they all have the same aspects to the questions.
Okay.
But the ones that are the most successful ask the most difficult questions at the very end.
Okay.
That's like the trap question.
Right.
So you might make a comment or say that, we can do X, Y, Z. They will lean in with generally a big pause. And this happened to me in Texas when I visited one. And he leaned in and he said, what is the empirical evidence that you have that this will happen? Don't tell me that you have an analysis or anything. I want the empirical evidence. And if you can provide that right now, we'll move on.
Wow. And what was your response?
I didn't have the empirical evidence. That was a flight back home to really think about, that it's not in the pitch anymore. It's really about, you're the North Star to somebody else's problem.
Right.
But eventually when you're playing in high stakes arenas where there's a lot of money potential, a lot of upside potential, there's a lot of downside risk.
Yep.
And if it's asymmetric for them, then you're going to have to bring a lot more than just, we can do this.
Right. Like the raw kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
So now I use empirical evidence everywhere.
Wow.
When I start leaning in on questions, I really want to understand what's the empirical evidence that, this will do what it's supposed to do.
Wow.
And I, not to date, have found anybody who's answered it, including myself,
Right.
the right way.
Wow. It's heavy. You got my brain thinking. I don't even know if I would have the answers for even the stuff that I'm playing in right now.
But now think about the 90% or 80% of our failures.
Yeah.
had we asked those questions on what's the empirical evidence.
Enjoying the show? Like, comment, and subscribe. PainPoints is all about helping contractors and business owners avoid costly mistakes, find new opportunities, and grow profitable companies. Thank you for being part of the community. Let's build together.
This thing will do what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
Would we be in a better financial position?
It'd probably be more like 80, the other way. It'd probably be 80-20 the other way.
Yeah.
Right.
We probably wouldn't have done those.
Right.
And maybe our success clip would have been a little bit higher.
Right. That's awesome. Yeah. Lately, what I've been doing is doing stuff like low barrier of entry stuff, like calculated risks. And it's like, and I'm following the PE type of stuff, right? It's kind of more of recreating myself in areas that are pretty easily systemized. And for whatever reason, most companies don't have processes. So in the home service, for instance, it's kind of like it's a multi-billion, if not trillion-dollar business, like in roofing.
Sure.
And nobody does it the same. Nobody has systems, SOPs, processes. And even if you find companies that are semi-successful, they still don't have those things in place. And it's bizarre to me how much PE money there is, because obviously AI has never taken over services, right? They're not going to swing a hammer for you. They're not going to change your HVAC or do electrical work, or at least not any time in the near future.
Not until robots take over.
Yeah. But it's funny though, like those kind of industries, you don't need to be able to answer those questions so sophisticated, right? It's just kind of just hard work, decent processes, and
extremely labor intensive.
Extremely labor intensive.
That didn't have systems.
Yes.
So you took your history and lead gen.
Right.
And
wherever you need systems.
Yeah, where you absolutely, if you don't have systems, you're crushed.
Right.
And you took it in a crushing industry and brought systems, so they have now a North Star. They have guidance. They have capabilities that they didn't think they had.
Right.
And they're not on a rooftop taking a sales call anymore.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, that's crazy. So if I was so I'm talking to young entrepreneurs out there, because that's kind of like my audience, right? And some people are in it. Some people just got into business, not knowing what it meant to succeed, and somehow get to this level and they can't get out of their own way. Some people are new and in the space. If you were, let's say you had no money to your name. Let's say you have $5,000 to your name. And I'm like, besides getting a job maybe or whatever, because you're an entrepreneur, right? You're unhireable at this point, right? Because you've done so much, you've established so much residual income and have your money working for you, and you've done a lot of smart things, and you're a serial entrepreneur and investor, and you've reached the mecca that most business owners want to get to. But let's talk if you were starting today, what would you do? Just kind of curious. Do you know what you would do if you're back against the wall?
If I went back to zero.
Yep.
So that's a good question, because I think as much as we look at success, I feel like we all go back to zero at one point.
Right.
Because we're either are so invested in an idea or an outcome that we were willing to risk everything for it.
Right.
Like look at Musk, right? He went down to zero before Tesla became a thing.
Right.
Right. And so I feel like going down to zero is part of where you know that you are the entrepreneur, and if you're comfortable going back to zero, because you know you'll win it back.
Right.
So I think the mindset shift has to be that money isn't money. Money is like points, like video games. I always use this as an analogy, and I like to hire people who play video games for this very reason, because it's very strategy driven.
Yeah.
So when you get into a brand new video game, what happens? You're figuring out the controls. You don't know what each button does.
Right.
If you're playing another opponent, you're gonna generally not play very well.
Right.
And over time, when your strategy becomes good, you have the things, your points, which is your bank account, tend to grow.
Yeah.
Right? And so you're gonna be weak no matter what you do in business.
Right.
When you're first starting. And even if you go into a new industry, you're gonna be weak.
Right.
Because your disciplines from another industry don't always carry over, because the personalities are different, the type of companies are different.
Yeah. Blue collar versus white collar, tech versus
everything is different. And so it's this huge learning curve. So it's like playing a new video game.
Right.
And so I just treat business like a video game, and I hire people who love to video game.
Yeah.
Because they have generally, I know there's a thing about not doing a lot of video games, but generally they understand strategy.
Right.
And in business, you gotta have the right strategy, the right framework, and the right workaround, because they're failing in a video game more than they're winning.
Yeah.
You're not passing levels every time.
Yeah.
You're hitting a wall.
Yeah.
And they figure out strategy.
And I think that's the other thing that a lot of people don't realize with business owners. People think that Businesses are always making money, right? And the guy, they see top line revenue, don't understand that top line doesn't mean profit, right? Or they don't understand that, hey, I'm not, so there's months or years I don't pay myself, right? In order to allow the company to reinvest back in the company to allow it to grow.
Exactly.
Right. And it's, so when you talk about like, let's say it like this. What are some of the biggest mistakes that you see young entrepreneurs make? Besides, well, one is cash management. Let's start there. But then I'd like to see you add on to some of the biggest pitfalls that you see with a lot of you.
I think in the beginning of business, all you're money hungry. You
Yeah.
just want to make cash. So it
Right.
doesn't matter where it comes from.
Right.
So that's the first problem, because you can make money from any direction, but where it comes from is either going to be an energy vampire
Right.
to your resources, going to drain you completely.
Right.
And whatever money you make won't be worth it.
Yep.
Right? Where somebody like squeezes that orange and you're the orange and they're squeezing, eventually there's no juice.
Yeah.
Right? And so that didn't feel good. It's a defeat, even though you got money in the bank. And then there's the ones where the resources all align and it feels good.
Right.
And those moments are really hard to find because you really have to navigate resources that way.
Right.
And
And you only got so much time to give, so much energy to give.
Yep.
So you got a proper placement of energy.
And I do think every time you start a new idea, you become that orange.
Right. Yeah.
And you
almost
fall
have to
into
be.
that trap. You fall into that
Yeah.
trap. Like if I do this, then this will work. And then all of a sudden you're getting squeezed.
So let me ask you something before we expand upon other things that business owners make mistakes on. When you come into a new venture, do you have kind of like an R&D number in mind, like saying, hey, when I get to this and it doesn't work, I'm going to pull back? Or is it kind of a feel where you kind of just trust your intuition to navigate as an entrepreneur, like you just understand that it's part of the course and you just kind of keep going until you figure it out? And then dismount? Or is it a combination of the both?
I think it's learning over time, obviously. We made a ton of mistakes in the early days.
Right.
If you don't guard your cash,
Right.
you have to. Because the moment people find out you have money,
Right.
there's a lot of noise that comes and a lot of people who are ready to grab it.
Right.
Every direction.
Yeah.
And so if you're not a good steward of managing that cash, it can leave you very quickly.
Right.
And in the wrong hands.
Right.
And the second part to your question is really on the navigation of how do you like determine when do you exit an opportunity?
Right.
Well, forget the exiting part. It's why did you get into that opportunity? And now if you can walk away from that financial risk and replace that money faster somewhere else, then it's a good reason to just kill it.
Yeah.
But if you don't have another opportunity and you can't find yourself, then maybe you pause it. Like the pausing is a great thing in business strategy. A lot of people hate it. I pause companies intentionally.
Right.
I'll say, we're not doing this anymore, we're pausing. Like in SaaS development, developers hate it when you say, we're gonna pause development.
Right.
But sometimes you just have to get to higher ground and think about it before you keep dumping more money into something.
Right.
Because maybe you just have the wrong, focus inside of that software.
Right.
You're just building the features that nobody cares about, or you're building features that everybody already has.
Yeah.
You gotta stop and just think.
Yeah.
And they don't do that.
Yeah.
They wanna go.
Yeah.
But I think if you stop and think, you're gonna get further faster.
You actually brought up a good philosophy in business that I say a lot, and I always say, like Socrates, very basic, right? You can't go into war not knowing what it means to win, right? I always say, like, it's Afghanistan, Iraq, or whatever, right?
Yeah, sure.
We're there occupying it for 20 years and bounce out. Now what, right? We never define what it meant to win. And you brought up a good point, like, and lots of it might be tolerance. Like some companies I have that I wanted to see young entrepreneurs grow. And because they're friends and I want a rising tides kind of philosophy, I want to see them succeed. My risk tolerance is higher with that because I'm invested in the people, right? And in other ventures, it's really about an ATM and it's about scale and growth and replication and whatever. And then that one, I'm a little bit less risk adverse because it really is about the economic gain. And my motive there is to exit or do something else. So if something else is a better opportunity, those things I can pull the plug much quicker because that's what my motive was going in.
Sure.
And I think what most business owners don't have, and I think this is the same thing for me, right? When Connect the Dots first started, I didn't know what I was going to be. I know a guy, but because my first 5 deals were data deals, I turned it into a data company, right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't supposed to be a data company. Connect the Dots doesn't even mean anything with data, right? But that's just the first few sales I did. So I became a data company. Like now it's like when I start a company, I have the end in mind. So you actually brought up a good point of I feel like most entrepreneurs, when you get into business, what does it mean to win? going in. What is it? Is it working, not working for the man? Is it retirement? Is it, reverse engineer? What's the end in mind?
And I think it's also don't force the outcome.
Yeah. I don't think you can.
Yeah. But like you get into business and you're obsessed with that end in mind.
Yes.
And you try to force it to happen.
Yeah.
And that's where the bad decisions happen.
Yeah. That's true too.
Yeah.
But I think if it's like calculated, like if you could look at, like, I'm not an Excellionaire kind of entrepreneur. I always get these people that show me this Excel, right? And that's if everything goes perfect, right? They don't understand that business isn't like this. It's like looks like a heart rate sometimes.
Yeah.
Right? It's ups and downs and navigating those low spots, right? And a performer the past 3 months is guess anyway, right? And then so for me, it's yes, you can't navigate the end in mind, but you can negotiate these mini goals to say this is where I should be by this time. Now,
Right. Chunk the goal.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So like I might say year over year, I'm not going to say I'm going to do 200% year over year growth. But if I say I'm going to do 10 or 15% year over year growth, that's a calculated number that if you exceed, great.
Yeah.
But it's realistic to hit, right? I'm not forcing outcomes. If you do everything right within the first few years, you should just grow organically.
Yeah, and that's generally the good thing. And then the other North Star is how quickly can you hit your first 1 million
Yeah.
in revenue?
Yeah. Top line.
Yeah, top line.
Okay.
Because the moment you can hit a 1 million top line, you have something.
Yeah.
If it takes too much work to get to that first million,
Yeah.
and it's 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, you've got a problem already.
Yeah.
Right? It's either focus, energy, idea, there's something that's wrong.
Yeah.
If you can hit that first million within the first 12 months, you've got something.
Yeah.
Now lean in.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, no, it's pretty interesting concept because like, it's funny, like when I first started, it was like, it's month to month, right? I'm so nearsighted that it's whatever. Now, if I don't hit 3-4 mil in the first year, I
Yeah,
almost feel like,
but your numbers changed.
yeah,
Because your growth has changed.
yeah,
Your minimum expectation is now
yeah.
much higher.
When did that first happen to you where you first stopped thinking in thousands and millions? And then like, I know now, like you think in billions or hundreds of millions, right? Can you kind of tell me like what it was when you first had that first revolutionary like shift in thought and perspective as an entrepreneur, like saying, you just realize that, hey man, I'm just in a different category now, or I just think differently now. When did that first happen for you?
I actually honestly think that happened in lead gen.
Really?
And the reason it happened in lead gen is traditionally we were more on invoicing customers for billable hours and time.
Right.
Time for money.
Right.
So it's kind of like having a job.
It's an exchange, yeah.
Right. And even though you can make 7 figures, 8 figures doing that, it's still a grind.
Yeah.
And then we got into lead gen and we realized, wow, you can create a technology system where things flow in and somebody's willing to buy it and in a bid system and you make a transaction on the other
It's an
side.
exchange, but it's a much
It's an
higher
exchange.
scale.
Yeah, but it's infinitely scalable because the more you spend on ads, the more money you make.
Right.
And so the psychology, I think, changed on money is more infinite.
Yeah.
Before, money felt very,
Finite.
like it was a resource that you had to mine, like gold mining.
Yeah, yeah.
You didn't know if you were going to strike it.
Right.
Eventually, then you figure out, well, if you go into every business and you can operationally figure out, like you said, systems, people, process, if you can figure that out and hone it, then everything does feel kind of like that,
Right.
like a cash register that's constantly moving and printing money.
So let me talk to a different audience now, switch gears a little bit, since now that we're on the topic of lead gen. And one of the things that when I talk to business owners that aren't familiar with this industry, right? Most people are used to typical agency model, right? Like give me a pay-per-click budget, they mark it up 30%, and that's an agency model. Give me a TikTok budget, mark it up 30%. Or
Like I used to do, yeah.
Yeah. So when people come into lead gen, what a lot of people aren't necessarily used to, because there's a lot of people here, there's thousands of people here, and for first timers, this is overwhelming. So if you were a consumer, which you are too, because you're a buyer as well, you have brands and different things you buy for. But for people that aren't you, what advice would you give to, like, what questions do you ask affiliates or publishers or networks or whatever? What are some of the 3 or 4 kind of questions that you ask to kind of find out if these are someone that you're even willing to entertain doing business with? Or do you just kind of have a budget and say, hey, I'll test you, but if these KPIs aren't hit, then we move on, type of thing?
If they're generating their own traffic, generally, we're trying to understand where they're generating and how they're generating. But that's like surface level. Now we go back to the empirical evidence part.
Right.
Right? Like We are more now concerned, the industry used to be very concerned about CPA.
Yeah.
Well, CPA is just a transaction number of how many sales you get because of how many calls you take.
You're right.
But that's not important anymore.
Right.
Lifetime value is actually the real important thing.
Right.
So we're really now more focused ever than before on persistency.
Yeah.
How long will this individual stick on the bucks?
Well, especially with insurance, right? Because if you get an acquisition and they stop services 3 months later, now it's not a good sticky, like if there's like a renter or someone with low income, they're not going to pay for insurance every week, like for life insurance, right?
Exactly.
So you're looking at people, the stickiness of that client. You're looking at that average lifetime client, like 7 years plus, not 2-3 months before they stop paying their bill.
And now it's just a math game.
Right.
So if somebody has really sticky traffic,
Uh-huh.
the CPA is generally maybe a little higher because it costs more to acquire that type of customer.
Right.
That's okay.
Yeah.
But I could get cheaper clicks, lower CPA, and a fall off at like 6 months. What value did that drive for my business?
You know, you bring up a good point because I understand the CAC, like you know, from a gap accounting principle.
Yeah.
But we use the word CPA, cost per acquisition. But I don't care about cost per acquisition. Like I always say, if I'm buying leads for a roofing company and it costs me $500 to get a $1,000 repair, that's 50% ad ratio, right?
Yep.
I don't care if it's a $500 CAC because I didn't make any money. I lost money on that deal, right?
Absolutely.
But if I'm doing a $20,000 roof and I'm under a 5% ad ratio, for me all day, every day, right? So it's a cost of acquisition, but it's a total amount of spend versus the revenue brought in. It's a different KPI. I think CAC and CPAs are good to monitor short-term traffic, but it's not the long game. So like if I'm in roofing, if I'm doing houses in a poor neighborhood and they're doing credit fails or smaller houses or whatever versus the more affluent, I'm willing to pay more for the more affluent because my ad ratios are much better, even though my cost per acquisition may be a little higher. And the same thing in lead gen, right? If the recurring revenue is 7 years out versus 3 months out, you much
It's a no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer.
No-brainer.
So do you bring
Then it just comes into cash flow problem.
right
How do you afford to spend more money to acquire a customer?
upfront?
And then now you have a longer tail to recovery,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And that's where you have to be a good steward of money.
Right. You got to know your numbers. One of the things Tony Robbins said years ago that I really loved is said, get a CFO. And I used to never want to get one, right? Even if it's fractional, because I looked at it as an expense. But if you go in blind, not knowing the numbers, you need to know the numbers going in, right? When do I break even? Like, you know, how much cash do I got? Cash versus accrual accounting, right? These are boring things to talk about, but as a business, it's imperative, or
It's your empirical evidence.
yeah, it's empirical evidence.
Yes, it's your empirical evidence. How healthy is a business?
Right.
Most people can't even read a balance sheet.
Yeah.
And they're CEOs.
Yep. No, I've seen that recently. I was mentoring a guy that basically he was teaching a class on P&Ls allegedly, and then when it came down, I used to ask him, "What's the EBITDA? What's the EBITDA?" He would tell me that it was 15% every week because that's what I wanted to hear. But when I got under the hood, it was like 9%. And I'm like, dude, you just basically lied to me for 6 months saying you knew how to read a balance sheet, and it just you can't even the numbers you're giving me are throwing darts at a board.
And you lost enterprise value as a result.
Yeah.
In your mind.
Yep.
Obviously you weren't selling at that moment maybe.
Yeah. It was the first 6 months, thank God.
Yeah.
But it was it's amazing to me that people don't know the numbers, especially as a business owner, or don't have anyone on staff that knows the numbers that can.
And I think that's what a good CEO should do.
Yeah.
They should know their numbers every day, every week, every hour, every minute.
Right.
If you're like you do in your businesses now, like revenue per second, cost per second, depending on your size scale.
We're starting to get there a little bit, but because the industry has changed so much, at least in my core businesses in roofing, we're about a year and a half in. So our business audience is bipolar opposite than when we started with. We started off insurance and chasing, so even the DSO and all that is very different from the retail brand. So we're barely getting week over week analysis now to kind of dive into those numbers. So we're not quite there yet, but we don't have enough of the historics. So last question then, I just want to talk about this because, like I said, I look at you as a mentor and I look at you shoulder to shoulder. I mean, you're a peer as well, but definitely one of the few people that I come to for advice often, or as often as I can. What got you into mentorship and the game? Because you don't necessarily game, but you're so loyal to the people that you're with. I mean, you have people that you went to high school with, that people that don't come for money, and you just kind of stick out your hand and reach out. And and just help them elevate. What is it about your life that motivates you to do that? And then why do you, and it's always impressive to me when successful people continue to do it even after you found the success you have.
I think the difference is to know that we're all the same.
Right.
We all have the exact same emotions, maybe different thinking, but we all go through very similar pain. That's why I love your name, PainPoints.
Right.
And the challenge to overcome those challenges is where you need people the most.
Yeah.
And when people don't do that, I mean, what value are you driving?
Right.
And if we've gone through those problems, we might as well lift people up on how to resolve some of those issues.
Right.
Because when you look back at your life, things that used to stress you out probably don't stress you out at all anymore.
Oh, no.
And now new things stress you out.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And there's those levels of growth, but like the reason for the loyalty or just always helping is I don't expect any reciprocation from anybody.
Really? Okay.
When we invest $1 into a new business idea or another entrepreneur, and yeah, we've made some really bad decisions and we've gone through fraud and things like that too, but like we don't ever expect it back. And so to emotionally remove ourselves allows us to make the best decisions in the worst times.
Yeah.
Because we're not emotionally tied to it anymore.
Yeah.
You have to remove yourself from that
I love
equation. And that's what it takes, I think. You just can't be emotional about the money. Just be happy that you're able to be in service of something.
Right. One of my friends, he always said it's a cost of doing business. I remember the first time I got sued, and I called you about that, right? Mm-hmm. And I was eating my lunch, I couldn't sleep, and I couldn't do whatever, and I was just like, couldn't stop thinking about it, and I was just like, what's going to happen to my name, my brand, blah blah blah. And now when it happens, I'm just like, it's just part of the course. It's the industry I got into. I think of it as just another expense, right? Whether it's I go to court or I don't, or I settle or I do whatever, it's just part of the course of the success that we come at. But it's kind of funny you said that, because I'm thinking of an experience with you specifically.
Yeah.
And like now it happens and I'm like, oh, I'll just deal with it when the lawyers tell me to deal with it, right?
But that's a battlefield that we went through.
Yeah.
Right? And those battlefields configure our minds. My business partner, Hethel, she's fierce.
Yeah.
Like she is fierce.
Yeah.
And one of the things she's always taught me is if you can't control the outcome, why are we busy sitting here worrying about it?
Yeah.
Let time resolve it.
Love that. So last but not least, we're about ready to wrap up, but how do people find you? What is it, you're at LeadsCon, what is it that you're looking for specifically? And go ahead, man, shameless plugs.
Yeah. We're at LeadsCon, we're looking for final expense, publishers, advertisers, places where great traffic can, materialize into good policy persistency.
Right.
ACA.
And you got a new SaaS product that you're launching.
We have a new SaaS product. It's called Hook CRM.
Okay.
We built it for in-house agents. So we have it rolled out inside of our company and our ecosystem right now with 200 plus agents.
Okay.
And basically, it's just systems costs get so heavy. You're using a CRM, phone dialer, and 5 other tabs. So we just consolidate it all into one. Kind of built like Apple, big stupid buttons.
Okay.
And the agents immediately know how to use our platform as soon as they log in.
Right on, brother. Well, I appreciate your time as always, man. Thank you for showing up. Once again, PainPoints, real pain, real growth. And appreciate you.
Ed Payne is the man. I love you to death, man.
Love you too, my friend.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Are you stuck in that $3 to $10 million year-over-year revenue? Roofs in a Box is your all-in-one growth partner for modern construction companies. They combine AI, virtual staffing, and CRM solutions to help streamline operations. Replace your high fixed overhead with cost-effective systems and support. They empower you to run a smarter, leaner business, freeing up capital where it matters most. Mention this ad to save 10% on your next Roofs in a Box purchase. This episode of PainPoints is brought to you by Ringba. If your business relies on phone calls, you need to be working with them. Their technology will help you get the most money out of your marketing campaigns. Their call exchange, Ringba X, can deliver inbounds on demand to help grow your customer base. Now, I want to be transparent. Ringba and Adam did pay me to deliver that message, but I'm also a customer, and I've watched them help dozens of companies become more successful over the years. So if you sell a product or service over the phone, I guarantee a moment with their team will be worth it.